I had to do this one, y'all. Carl Weathers was the man back in the day. I think the Rocky movie made me love the sport of boxing as a kid growing up. Rocky and Apollo Creed were so popular in the 80s. It made me want to box. I wanted to box. When it came to black actors in that 80s era, Carl Weathers was it. He was a great actor all the way up to his death. Action Jackson, the movie Action Jackson, The Predator, movies like that he was a part of made him one of the elite actors at the time. He was up there with a Sylvester Stallone and an Arnold Schwarzenegger. And his 50-year career, he was in over 75 movies and TV shows. He also has an Emmy nomination. The man, Carl Weathers, man, he was a great actor, man. So let's get into his story, right? Now, Carl Weathers was born on January 14th, 1948 in New Orleans, Louisiana. Now, his parents were just hardworking class people without much education. His mother and his father didn't have much education, but they worked to take care of the family. In a 2013 interview with Ebony Magazine, Carl said his father was very quiet. He was a very quiet man, very hardworking man. He didn't have a lot of education, but he had a lot of wisdom. It was just Carl and his sister. They grew up very poor. They grew up in the 7th and 9th Ward, basically in New Orleans, the 7th and 9th Ward. They grew up where all the flooding happened from the Hurricane Katrina in 2005. But, growing up, he always loved movies, and he was a big fan of Sidney Poitier and Harry Belafonte. He also used to love watching Western movies on a big screen. And once he entered the 5th grade, he was in a school play. And he said it was around that time that he caught the acting bug. He said once he heard the audience laughing, clapping, and cheering for him for doing a great job on stage, it was like a natural high for him. He wanted that feeling forever. And he continued acting in school plays, musicals, and he joined the choir. He can sing too now. He also can sing. But then he realized that all the girls in school really liked the guys who played sports. And that's when he got into sports, trying to be the best athlete to get the attention of the girls. Plus, he really didn't want to just be at home all the time either. So he figured that doing sports, he could stay out late because he had practice. He said he tried out for every sport and made the team from boxing, gymnastics, judo, soccer, wrestling, all of that. But the one sport that he really was good at was football. And by the 8th grade, he ended up getting an athletic scholarship to St. Augustine High School, which was a private school. Then he ended up moving to California, and he played football at Long Beach Poly High School, and he graduated in 1966. Now, after high school, he attended Long Beach City College as a defensive end football player before transferring to San Diego State University on a scholarship. Now, once he got to San Diego State University, he majored in theater and was acting in plays while playing for the football team too. But as far as football go, his San Diego State team was good. They was good. When he played linebacker on that 1968 and 1969 Aztecs team, they went 20-0, and they had one tie, one draw, and they won the Pasadena Bowl. So after college, he went on to pursue a professional football career. And in 1970, he ended up trying out for the Oakland Raiders, and they signed him as a free agent linebacker playing for legendary coach John Madden. Now, if y'all remember, that was the year that the AFL and the NFL had merged together, because before that, it was two football leagues. You had the American Football League and the National Football League. But that year, they had come together to form one league with two conferences. And the Raiders became part of the Western Division of the AFC. And that year that Carl played, the Oakland Raiders went 8-4-2, all the way to the conference championship, losing to the Baltimore Colts. I think he had played like 7 games that season. But the following year, in 1971, the Oakland Raiders released him after they switched him from linebacker to strong safety. And once they let him go from the Oakland Raiders, that's when he signed with the BC Lions in the CFL, the Canadian Football League. And he played with them all the way till about 1973, and that's when he hung football up. He retired. And in 1974, he ended up going back to school at San Francisco State University and earned a bachelor's degree in drama. And he went back to pursuing his real dream, which was being an actor, and he started trying out for roles, and he ended up landing some acting gigs. In 1975, he appeared in the blaxploitation movies Bucktown as Hambone and Friday Foster as Yarbrough. That same year, in 1975, he ended up doing an episode on the show Good Times. He did a show on Good Times. He was on the episode, it's called The Nude. If y'all remember, JJ was doing a painting of a naked woman, and Carl played the angry husband who thought his wife was cheating on him with JJ. Now, after that same year, still in 1975, he was in an episode of the TV show called Kung Fu. 1976, he played a loan shark in an episode on the crime drama TV show called Starsky and Hutch. And he appeared on the show called Barnaby Jones on an episode called The Bounty Hunter as an escaped convict named Jack Hopper. But the role that would change his life and make him a star and a movie icon, that year in 1976 would be Apollo Creed in the classic movie called Rocky, y'all. Man, I love Rocky. Now see, when it comes to Rocky, right, Sylvester Stallone wrote the movie after seeing Chuck Wepner fight Muhammad Ali. And real heavyweight boxer Ken Norton was supposed to play the role of Apollo Creed. But at the last minute, Ken Norton, he took a job on ABC called The Superstars. So, when Carl auditioned for the role, they told him he would be reading the script with the writer of the movie Rocky. But he didn't know that Sylvester Stallone was the writer. After they went over their lines, right, Carl yelled out he could do a lot better if he got him a real actor to work with. And that's when Sylvester Stallone, who he was going over the lines with, told him that he was the writer of the movie and the actor Rocky. And after that, they became good friends, and he landed the part of Apollo Creed. And Rocky was a big hit. The budget to make the movie Rocky cost $860,000, and it made $225 million in the box office. Wow. That's crazy. Now look, right after that, the following year in 1977, he appeared in a movie called Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which is a classic. In 1979, Rocky Part 2 was released. And I love that one too, Rocky 2. Rocky had won the fight in that movie. In Part 2, he won the fight and they became friends and everything. But in real life, Sylvester Stallone and Carl Weathers took a real beating while shooting for that movie. They was getting hit for real. In the box office, Rocky 2 made over $200 million too. Now, Carl, after Rocky 2, right, Carl wanted to get into music. He like I said before, he had joined the choir as a kid. And he also was in a singing group when he was a teenager. And he used to sing covers by Otis Redding, James Brown, Wilson Pickett to earn some extra cash. Plus, at college at San Diego State University, he was part of an R&B a cappella group called Al and the Rhythm Gents. But in 1981, he released the singles titled You Ought to Be With Me. And the other B-side of that was That's Love Calling. That was the B-side. And Carl sound pretty good too. He sound pretty good. He said Teddy Pendergrass inspired him to do those songs. Y'all can check those songs on YouTube when y'all get a chance. They sound pretty good too. Now, in 1982, Rocky 3 was released. And that movie made like 270 million at the box office. I really love that movie too, part 3, because Mr. T was in that one. He played Clubber Lang. Hulk Hogan was also in that movie. They say Joe Frazier had auditioned for the role of Clubber Lang, but Mr. T did such a good job, he ended up winning that role. And that kind of blew Mr. T up. He went on the A-Team and everything after that. Mickey had died from a heart attack in the movie, which is sad. Apollo helped him train for the rematch with Clubber Lang and everything. But I know the movie, man. Rocky 3 is a classic too. In 1985, though, Rocky 4 came out. Rocky 4 was released. And out of all the Rocky movies, I think part 4 is my favorite out of all of them. I mean, Apollo was in the ring with James Brown doing the song Living in America. He had on the United States trunks, that Uncle Sam hat. The only thing I hate about part 4, the Rocky 4 movie, was he died, man. Apollo died in that one. He was killed in the ring fighting Drago. It just felt so real to me back then, man. And they actually had some real problems while shooting the scenes. Dolph Lundgren, who played Drago, was a little too aggressive with Carl. Apparently, he had threw Carl across the ring or something like that. And Carl had threatened to quit the movie Rocky. They had to shut down production for about 4 days and get Carl to come back. But they ended up working it out, and later on in life, Dolph Lundgren and Carl Weathers became good friends. They was good friends. Now, there was supposedly some beef over Carl being written out the Rocky franchise too. But Carl said he was ready to move on anyway and take on some other roles. Now, that same year, in 1985, he starred in a TV movie called Breaker. In 1986, he played Colin Monroe on a TV version called The Defiant Ones, which was a remake of the 1958 movie with Tony Curtis and Sidney Poitier. And, Carl said the original movie with Sidney Poitier also inspired him to become an actor. In 1987, he landed the role of Colonel Dillon in the classic movie called Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I just watched that the other day too, y'all. That movie is a celebrity underrated classic movie right there, y'all. That's my junk right there. In an interview, right, Carl said Arnold Schwarzenegger is the one that got him started smoking cigars. And he said Arnold Schwarzenegger and him and Jesse Ventura, they would work out every day to see who had the best muscles body on the set. So they became good friends. Now, that same year, 1987, Carl also appeared in Michael Jackson's video called Liberian Girl. Everybody was in that video though. All the celebrities you can think of at that time. If you haven't seen that video, check it out on YouTube. Liberian Girl by Michael Jackson. You'll see all the celebrities in there. Now, in 1988, he starred in the movie Action Jackson with Vanity. Yeah, I love that movie too. Action Jackson, that was a dope movie, man. Coming out in that era, that was a dope movie. And for his role of Action Jackson in that movie, he was nominated for an NAACP Image Award for Outstanding Actor in a Motion Picture that year. But he ended up losing to Denzel Washington for the movie. Denzel had a movie called Cry Freedom. Now, in 1990, him and Billy D. Williams starred in the TV movie called Dangerous Passion. And he also was on the show called Tour of Duty, which had won an Emmy Award for Outstanding Sound Mixing for a drama series. In 1991, he played Sergeant Adam Boudreaux on a cop show called Street Justice. The following year, in 1992, he played in a movie titled Hurricane Smith. In 1993, he played in the last 2 seasons of the classic show my grandma used to love called In the Heat of the Night. He played Police Chief Hampton Forbes. Carl had actually replaced Chief Bill Gillespie, played by Carol O'Connor. And they also brought him in because actor Howard Rollins was dropped from the show due to health reasons, plus 3 outstanding warrants, and he had some other issues he had going on too. In 1996, he was in the Adam Sandler movie called Happy Gilmore, playing the character Chubbs Peterson, a golf legend teaching Happy Gilmore how to play golf. You know, while filming Happy Gilmore, right, he had got hurt pretty bad in a fall stunt. He hurt his back real bad, y'all. If y'all remember in that movie when he fell out the window, Carl had actually fractured 2 vertebrae and his osteophytes grew out and connected and self-fused badly, he said. He said he was in excruciating pain for 3 to 4 years from that fall in Happy Gilmore. Wow. Now, in 2000, he appeared in the movie Little Nicky with Adam Sandler. In 2003, he appeared in a couple episodes of the cop show called The Shield. In 2004, he made appearances in 4 episodes of the comedy series called Arrested Development as himself. In 2006, the movie Rocky Balboa was released, and Sylvester Stallone and Carl had a little problem over that movie, right? Now, they say that Sylvester Stallone had asked Carl Weathers, Mr. T, and Dolph Lundgren, who played Drago, for permission to use footage from their appearances in the earlier Rocky movies, right? And Mr. T and Dolph Lundgren agreed, but Carl wanted an actual part in the movie, even though his character had died in Rocky IV. And, you know, Sylvester Stallone refused to give him a part in the movie, so Carl decided not to allow Sylvester Stallone to use his image for flashbacks from the previous movies. So they just used footage of another fighter who looks like Carl. But, you know, years later, they settled their beef and became friends again. They was always on and off. I don't know what's going on with them. In 2009, he played the father on a Fox sitcom called Brothers. I remember that show. Y'all remember that show, Brothers? But I don't think it lasted but 1 season, though. He played the father on the show Brothers. In 2015, the movie Creed was released. Actor Michael B. Jordan played Adonis, Apollo Creed's son, who was born out of wedlock. And, you know, like I said earlier, Sylvester Stallone and Carl had beef over the Rocky Balboa movie because Carl wanted to be in the movie and Rocky didn't let him be in the movie. But when Creed came out, him and Sylvester Stallone squashed their beef. You know, they patched up their differences and he agreed to allow footage of him from previous movies to be used throughout Creed. In 2017, he starred in a show called Chicago Justice, which was canceled after only 1 season. In 2019, he appeared as Grief Karga in a Star Wars series called The Mandalorian, which is on Disney+. And he was nominated for a Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Guest Actor in a Drama Series. He is also credited as a director on that series too. But on February 1st, 2004, Carl Weathers passed away. You know, his family issued a statement saying that he died peacefully in his sleep without revealing the cause of death. You know what, y'all? I don't think he has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. We got to look into that, y'all, and make sure he gets one, because he really deserves a Hollywood Walk of Fame star, because he kind of opened the doors. Carl Weathers opened the door for a lot of black actors too. You know, he does have 2 sons, so I hope they put out a book about his life and journey someday. That would be great. See a good book on Carl Weathers. And you know, he was 76 years old. Rest in peace, Carl Weathers.